what motivated me more than anything was just wanting to make my dad proud. Well, my family, but especially my dad, because I should have said this earlier as well, Mark. And when I grew up, I was basically my dad's shadow. So up until the age of 7, I actually was pretty healthy, but then I got asthma when I was 7. So I used to spend a lot of time off school when I was younger, and I would just go to work with my dad in the truck. He was a truck driver. So yeah, Taylor, that was probably the one incident that really made me realise how important it was to try and be the best you can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Dr. Clark. That's a really insightful story, and appreciate you sharing that with us today. And as you mentioned, like how your friend first took you to the Great Game Rugby League to watch, and that was obviously a build up into your love for sport. But obviously with the passing of your father, but was there also another significant moment that shaped your career path, that you knew sport was your future, and there was no looking back, where you've excelled to today?
Again, one of those turnstile moments, just playing sport every week with your mates, and you just develop a love for it. That team, the bonding, everything that comes into playing sport, you do know what it's like. You just get such a buzz from playing and spending time with your mates. The difference was when I was 17, I was playing Premier League, well, senior level football, or rugby league. So I'm playing against grown men, and I'm just a kid in my second year of playing the sport. And then my family decided we'd start our own rugby league club, Marco. Probably nearly as good as the Parramatta Eels, I'd suggest. So we started our own club, and we had a whole heap of mates that I spoke about earlier, that we'd started playing together. We formed our own club called the Melville High School Old Boys Rugby League Club. So it was just a group of mates that grew up together in one suburb. They went to the same schools. We all went to Melville Primary, Melville Intermediate, and Melville High School together. So we grew up together, and we were tight. So we formed our own club. My uncle was the president. My mum was the secretary. My brothers all played. So I played. It was just such a happy time doing something you absolutely love and playing. And we even made it. We made it to the highest level in our district, playing in the Premier Division. We'd only been 1 year in the Senior Division, and then we got promoted to the Premier Division. That we beat a team which was one of my uncle's other teams. We beat that team to make it to the Premier grade, and I played in the same team with my older brother, my next older brother, Larry. And as I said, my uncle was the manager as well as the president of the club, and mum was secretary. My mum, man, I'll tell you what, Marco, Taylor, you spoke to your mum earlier before. My mum's the most passionate supporter you could ever get. So what would happen, we'd turn up the field, and everyone would just watch where my mum's going. They'd all make sure they know where she's going. Then they'd all go to the opposite side of the field, because she'd just scream the whole field down. It was just just what mums do, I guess. So yeah, I absolutely love playing the game. But at the age of 17, Marco, I actually went from being a player with grown men looking in the team to being the coach. Crazy times, just absolute crazy times. But again, one of those things where you just grab it and run with it, and hopefully it all work out. So I was pretty lucky. When I say lucky, a lot of things happened in those times. We just evolve, we learn, we get better, you train. Me and one of my best mates, we grew up together around the corner from each other. We'd actually go out and train, we'd run every night, basically. We'd just run hard and train hard and do all the things that you need to do. Another good mate of mine he went on to represent the Kiwis, and Marco, he went on to represent your great club, the Parramatta Eels, eventually. Mark Horrow. So we've got good mates, grew up together around the same town as well. And we spent a lot of time playing in different representative teams to a point where we got I was in a position where I guess was very fortunate to be selected to tour overseas. And when I got to tour overseas in 1983 when I was 21, that was the catalyst really for those big changes that went on. But just remember, all the while, when I talked about playing rugby league, I was actually playing in bands from the age of 16 right up until I was 20. I was a drummer, and I used to play guitar as well, but I was a drummer mainly. And I'd turn up sometimes. I remember breaking all the bones in this hand. Obviously, it's the hand you hold hit the snare drum. So I ended up just taping the stick to my hand, strap it around. But I couldn't hit it too hard because the bones were broken. So, I got the hard word from the leader of that band. And he just sort of said to me, "You've got to make a choice. You either want to play music and dedicate your life to music, or you have to play sport." So I didn't understand why couldn't I do both, but I soon realised the competing interest, the practicing, the training, the injuries, and But I just did it for as long as I could, and I absolutely loved it.
It's a great story. Just talking about like the love, obviously your family fuels your passion, and just to be able to be open-minded at a young age, and then it gives you time to understand who you are, and eventually pursuing down that road of sport is a really inspiring story, and it's great to hear. Thank you.
So what do you say? You mentioned you had this point in your life where it was either going to be music or it was either going to be sport. Was there something that made you think, okay, this is the way I want to go?
I basically got picked in all these representative teams, and I didn't have any other time to do anything other than train, play sport. I will tell you though, in those days I was actually working. I actually had a job. I actually had a real job for a stage in my life where I actually went out to earn money. My uncle, geez, I've got a lot of uncles, but my uncle Joe, he was the one who actually got me a job. I left school. I spent what you guys would be the equivalent of year 11. I spent year 11. I didn't go to year 12. I actually went for one day in school, and I thought, no, this is not me. So I went out into the big wide world and got a job. But yeah, the catalyst, I guess, if you really get down to it, is because of all the success playing in all these different representative teams and getting an opportunity to play with and against some great players. I got selected in a one rep game where the New Zealand selectors and all the bigs, powers that be in the game were attending, and I had an absolute wow in the game and got selected for a New Zealand trial. So just wow, out of the blue. Got selected to attend a New Zealand training camp. I had to go and stay in it was at the university in my hometown actually, Waikato University, and it was for a training camp for the New Zealand Kiwi team in 1983, which obviously I'm like in awe of all these superstars that are already Kiwi internationals playing, and I'm there, and they're probably wondering what am I doing? Who's this kid? Anyway, I got to rub shoulders with the elite guys, and during all the trainings, so I'm the little rabbit doing everything, just running around 100 miles an hour, head chopped off, you name it, I'm doing it. And I'm doing it first, and I'm doing it as best I can. So yeah, the coach in those days, they just replaced the head coach, and the new coach by the name of Graham Lowe came into the New Zealand setup. Marco, you might know who Graham Lowe is. And he turned up in 1983 in New Zealand, and he changed the structure of the way we do things in rugby league in New Zealand. I was lucky to go on that camp for the trial, played in the trial. Got some pretty good reviews and feedback from the coaching staff. Just said, look, you're only young, you've got plenty of time. We'll keep an eye on you. Just go away and keep doing your thing. So that's all I do. I went away and kept doing it, and played in some more of those rep games, and just fortunate enough started to be selected in that 1983 New Zealand Māori rugby league team, which went and toured the UK. And that was the catalyst. But the story is, I didn't get picked. I missed selection. I played in the trial for that. We played this trial game at this place in Ngārawahia called Turangawaewae, which is the main marae in New Zealand, and Waikato-Tainui. And we played a trial there, and I didn't get picked. So I went away thinking, oh, that's me. I'm no chance. But this is a long story, but sorry. A guy who I really owe a lot to is not so much anyone in particular that I'm passionate about and have a good relationship. What happened was the guy who got picked in the hooker position, which is what position I was supposed to be playing, was already a Kiwi international. His name was Howie Tamati. Howie Tamati, who was the Kiwi hooker for years. He was supposed to be the tour and captain, but he decided to sign for Wigan. So he pulled out of the tour. So I'm the last man selected on that tour. Very, very lucky to be on that tour. But I was ready to go. I basically just hit the ground running. That was if you want to nail anything as a lucky break, that was the lucky break I got. So,
yeah, wow.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
there's a lot more stories about that, but I can't say anything about that tour. But I will tell you one little story that happened before we even got there. So here I am at the airport. Guess what? I've never been to the international airport in my life, ever. You know why? Because I've never, ever been on an aeroplane. I'm 21 years of age. I've never been on an aeroplane. And there I am about to board a Singapore Airlines flight from Auckland to London via Singapore. So I'm dressed in my number ones, suit, tie, slacks, best shoes, polished and everything. And I'm checking in with everyone else. Yeah, awesome. Get on the plane. There I am, stuck in the middle of two big guys on the side of me on those rows. And then the plane takes off, all good. I'm thinking, oh, wow, we're off. I've never been on a plane. I'm looking out the window. I'm being annoying, doing all these things. Anyway, 5 minutes into the air, the plane, all of a sudden, the captain says, seatbelts off. Next thing, all the boys jump up, get all the gear down, start stripping off their number one suits and putting their shorts and singlets on. And there I am, not knowing anything about flying. I'm thinking, no one told me to bring a change of clothes. I stayed in my number one suit all the way to London. There you go. Things you learn in life, huh?
Oh my goodness.
One of the many stories. That's we back in when I went to school, we had a pretty strict uniform. Yeah, it's not great. I went on Sri Lanka cricket tour, flying in the number ones in the blazer, and it was not great after when we arrived there. Couldn't change, so I could definitely feel your pain there. But yeah, and as you've already scratched the surface on your professional sporting career, tell us from that moment that you made the side and you made that touring team, got the opportunity. Tell us about your professional sporting career after that moment and the valuable lessons you've learned from that.
Yeah, it's a different world. Obviously, have either of you two been to the UK? Taylor, I know you've been to Canada, right?
Not the UK.
Neither, yeah, not UK.
Okay, so they speak English there, which is a good thing. They speak and communicate, but it's an absolute world away from, well, Australia especially, but it's definitely a world away from New Zealand, just the way of life. And also, I'd actually never ever researched anything to do with what the UK was like. So I just went totally blind. To tell you one thing, though, Nako, it's very cold in the winter. So much so that it snows. Never seen snow. Gets down to like minus 20 degrees at times. We're in the wind chill. We were training minus 20, 21 degrees, wind chill factor, running around on snow-covered, pretty fields, just absolute crazy, But you just do it. You have to. You either do it or someone else will do it for you, and then they'll, spot. It's a different world being a professional irrespective of what sport it is, you should really dedicate yourself to your craft. Someone else will be ready to jump in your spot. So look, I made some great mates, and I'm still mates with so many players around the world. It's just unbelievable, this great game of ours, Marco, that you make friends for life when playing sport. And Taylor, you said about snowboarding, there was a time when I actually loved snowboarding, and I'd do it all the time, going out to Queenstown. In fact, I haven't even talked about another one of my other passions, surfing. I'm surfing for 35 years, so that actually was my escape from rugby league. Just to get away from rugby league training was to go surfing. So different world of playing professional sport. It is your job. It is your job, and you just got to be up for it all the time. The hours and hours of dedication, training, and just being a good player, a coachable player. I was very, very, again, one of those moments in life, one of those milestones in life. Mark, I was very lucky as a player. I was coached by communicating probably two coaches. I had good coaches along the way, but one in particular, the one coach that I played at basically 10 years under the same coach. I played for him at 3 clubs. He basically took me to every club that he went to. He'd go, and then straight away he'd be on the phone and say, "Oh, what a Clark, he'd get me there, and I'd just be off." So I'm very lucky to play under the greats, and one and only Peter Fox, who's unfortunately passed now. But Featherston was just a fantastic little village. You knew everybody your first name. That's how tight Featherston was. And Bradford, in my twilight years, but man, what a team we had. Just a phenomenal team, big club. They went on to great things, real big things, not long after I left, actually. So, I loved every minute. And starting at Leeds was a real eye-opener, because of a real professional big club. Leeds is one of the big four, so they're always doing it. It's one of those places. It's a big club that everyone is really dedicated to everything. I met some really good mates. Some of my good mates, Marco, believe it or not, are actually Aussies. So I ended up living with a couple of Aussies over there, and Tony Curry, and a good mate of mine, who obviously played for the Bulldogs, Bronx, and so on and so forth, Queensland, Australia. Him and I spent a couple of years there, mucking around together over in Leeds in those early years. So, it was awesome time.
It's great to hear. It goes to show that you can enjoy sport both on and off the field, and I'm sure you have many stories that you can value for the rest of your life. So I appreciate you tapping into those. So over to you, Taylor.
So it's about this time in this period in your life where you start with a study, and a question that always circulates between students and professionals these days is balancing work and life. How did you manage to fit training, playing, studying, and raising a family in?
Yes. The training was the easy part. We just trained when we had to. We were told to train, we trained. But the strange thing was around that training, the English lads, that's what they would do. They'd just do what they had to do when they were told to do it. The internationals, the Aussies and the Kiwis, guess what? We used to train outside of training. We'd actually go and do weight training, we'd do speed, we'd do lots of things. Extras, they call them nowadays. But we used to train pretty hard. And I think what it did was, it was a catalyst to improve the British game from being part-time to basically full-time, because we actually trained that hard. We could really improve the standards. So, and that was a really enjoyable part, actually, training and studying. Look, I'm sorry to say it, but I'm glad to say all you guys are studying. Don't worry, I have been there. I've actually walked that walk, studying an undergrad. Actually, I started out doing a diploma in leisure studies at Wakefield College. The reason I did that diploma was that I could qualify as a resident, a full-time resident in the UK. I actually ended up becoming a resident of the UK, stamping the passport, got everything like that. And those 2 years allowed me then to gain entry into what's called Carnegie College. There's Carnegie, which is, it used to be Leeds Polytechnic, now it's Beckett's University. Leeds Metropolitan University, it was when I was there. Anyway, being able to study and combine that with playing rugby league as a professional, again, I was very, very fortunate to be able to do that and have the time to do it. As well as mentioned my family. So my 2 boys, both young, well, they're born in the UK. They're born in a place called Pontefract, which is in West Yorkshire, which is just a little off from a mining village and just off the M62. If you ever go over there, Pontefract is famous for its licorice orchards. That's where the licorice orchards actually originated from. A place called Pontefract. So when you drive into the town, all you smell is that smell of licorice. Yeah, my 2 boys, my oldest boy in 91 was born there, Regan, and the youngest, Mitchell, in 93. So trying to balance that, all these things together, living 13,000 kilometres away from family, and still managing to pull it all off was, it was, again, one of those moments you just got to do it, but enjoy it. My 2 boys, by the time we'd gone home, my oldest boy was nearly 25, Regan, so he actually spoke as Yorkshire as you could get. Every word that came out of his mouth was Yorkshire. So he soon lost it when he went back to New Zealand. And yeah, my youngest son, he couldn't really talk that well, but he wouldn't shut up though, but he couldn't speak that well. But yeah, it was a great time. So those, how do you forget things like that? You just got to go through it and do it. I wish you all the best. So the last thing you mentioned was research. I've been very fortunate again. Part of my journey. And here's another one of those milestones. At the age of 50, so if you're not 50 yet, you've got plenty of time. I actually started a PhD. You wonder, why would I do that? Crazy. 50. Anyway, a good friend of mine, Dr. Doug King, one of my best mates. We've known each other for 20 odd years, maybe longer. Many years ago, I challenged him, believe it or not, because I'd already had an honours and a master's degree in sport exercise science, and I was coaching, doing all these things. It was actually when I was at the Warriors Maker, so back in 99, 2000. Dr. King, well, he wasn't Dr. King then, he was just my good mate, Doug. He was one of our medics that used to come along and do all the medic courses and run the first aid courses for the high performance unit. And I challenged him then. I said, he asked me, how do you get into this environment, in a professional environment? I said, mate, you just got to get you've got your experience, get some qualifications behind you, get more experience, and just keep going down that pathway. It's a pleasure for me today to talk about this bloke, Taylor, because him and I, because we've been friends for so long, it's not a given, but we've also shared our passion for academia. He now is the proud owner of 3 doctorates. He is Doctor Doug King. But he's an idiot. Shouldn't be doing that. 1 PhD is enough. Well, no, I shouldn't have said that out loud. Anyway, look, my PhD, why we actually went down that pathway. If I could roll up my sleeves, show you all these scars that I have. I've got titanium arm, got a plate in there. I usually say to, depending on where I go, kids, I show them the arm. It looks like a shark bite, so I tell them it's a shark bite. But I've got scars on my back from a laminectomy where I had the cartilage removed from my L4, L5. So basically, I thought I would never play again, but I was again lucky. One of those lucky things that happen. The surgeon said another 2 millimeters in spinal cord. So very lucky. I've got 2 titanium knees now, so I sort of hobble around. You guys have probably seen me walking around campus. Yeah, there's the old bugger. So I've got 2 titanium knees that I have to carry around with me as well. So yeah, but hey, the PhD, the study around health of players retired from playing rugby league. It was the first of its kind in the world, so you know, it was one of those light bulb moments. Why? So I'm really happy about that, proud of that achievement. Tick that. Another one of those moments where you just think in life, well, no one's going to do it for you. You've got to go and do it. So there's a challenge for both of you young people here. You're in your undergrad degrees. The next step is the master's degree. The next step after that is a doctorate degree. So you've got heaps of time. That's a good thing. But yeah, my good friend Doug, the research we're into, we do a lot of research around sport concussion, and we've been doing a lot of that research with females as well. So because believe it or not, females play rugby league and rugby union, and some of the impacts and the collisions that we're seeing being recorded just as high, if not higher than the men. So that's basically what's been happening for a little while.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you for that. And like, obviously, as we're currently students, we don't have the same as much workload as what you did, but we can definitely take that advice on board as we continue to continue our studies and continue to hopefully continue on to masters and our doctorate. And yeah, as I progress into the next question, as you've mentioned, your doctorate and after your reign on the field, how has your doctorate helped you? And looking back on completing that significant amount of time, how has that helped you? And where are you currently involved still in sport?
Yeah, good question. Has it helped me in sport? Yes, by no doubt it has. It has. Has it helped me in my academic career? 100%. I would not be here at ICMS today if I didn't have that doctorate, Marco, for sure. I probably would not be progressing in the field that I am at the moment if I didn't have a doctorate. So the one thing is the PhD has allowed, has opened a lot more doors for that avenue to progress in academia, really. Without, you need a PhD to progress in academia, but how has it happened with sport? I still do a lot of coaching with through the Australian Strength Conditioning Association. A good mate of mine, David Boyle, who's the high performance manager for the officials in the NRL. We've known each other for a long time as well. I first met Boyle 20, maybe longer. I know it was in the 80s. How did I get introduced to David Boyle? That was through a right forearm to the head. He just said, "Hello, Clarky, how you going?" So he went to tackle me and tried to tap my head off. I was a bit too quick for Boyle. The good thing was, we formed a relationship, over those years. We ended up working together with preparing the New Zealand Kiwi team in 2000 to go to the World Cup. Spent some time together then and just sort of kept in touch. And now, through the ASCA, which is the organisation, industry organisation that I affiliate to, as well as ESSA. But ASCA, so we run level 1, 2, and 3. Well, we run level 1 and 2 coaching courses for strength conditioning coaches. So I meet a lot of young up-and-comers that are really keen and absolutely thirsting for knowledge. And the great thing is we get to share our knowledge with everything we've done in our careers, just to help them. And I've lost count of how many, Mark, I've been teaching for over 20-odd years, 25 years. So when I was teaching, obviously I used to run into students all over the world. It was amazing that I could be anywhere in an airport, doesn't matter, in a town, in a city, random. Some of the most random ones for sure. They just yell out, "Hey, sir," or that's what they used to call me back in the day, Marco, but not anymore. That's just the way it was. It's Dr. Clark or hey, Trevor, and it's just just fantastic to be able to, I guess, utilise all that knowledge. And that's one thing I say to students all the time. When you walk through that door, when you walk into a classroom, bring all that knowledge with you, bring all that experience with you, because that's actually going to be probably more valuable than some of the stuff that you might be asked to learn. Because with learning, you know, we all learn how to do things, and the more we do them, the better we get at it. I'm sure you both understand what I'm talking about. That actually means you have to practice. You practice. You practice. It's just a different type of practice, not just practicing physically. I know you mentioned earlier I had a double major in physiology and psychology, so you know that's the one thing that I've had to balance, arguing with myself over the yes hard soft science, you know, which is the better way, but it's all that experience that comes with it. And but I just love sharing that knowledge and passing on whatever assistance, experience. It doesn't matter who, where, what, how, and why. You know, I get inquiries all the time, and I just try and help as many as I can. So that's basically what I do, I guess.
So you've explained that you've pretty much ticked off every box in the sports industry. If you could name a few of your greatest achievements on or off the field, what would they be?
Yeah, that's not too hard to actually explain. There's no doubt the two greatest achievements are my two sons. So, you know, they're both life-changing moments, and it's funny because only parents know that. You know, you don't actually understand it until you become a parent. So, just a little story. When my oldest son Regan was born, on 3rd of February 91, I was actually playing a game that day. He was born on a Sunday morning, and I had to go and play. Right, so I was sort of hoping that he would, you know, arrive before I had to go, but at the time my wife was doing laps and laps around the delivery ward, knowing that I had to go, but I wasn't allowed to go until such time as the son had arrived. So anyway, long story short, the labour was really short, and my son was born within, I think, an hour and a half. I was okay of that happening. So he was born, I think, 7:39 a.m. in the morning. He weighed 50, whatever. He was 55 centimetres. He was just a little. And I went away that day, played, got on a bus, a couple of hours down the road or whatever, and played and scored a try. But I was awake all that night, and I haven't actually slept much. And I got a try, and I just, the next day, the next time I took the show photos in the paper, and I said, I was dedicated to my son and everything. Oh, it was just, I just couldn't stop buzzing over the fact that, you know, had a son, born and played and scored, and, you know, I was your uncle, basically. It's, those two, without a doubt, are probably my greatest achievements. On the field, I guess, lots moments. So it would be hard to put a single figure, but obviously flying back to the UK. First I was on tour in '83, flew back to New Zealand, said hooray to all my family, because while I was on tour, I signed professionally to play while I was actually on the tour. But I said, look, I have to go home because I have a job and all these commitments and things. They said, yeah, no problem. You just go and come back when you're ready, and as long as you're back here by this date. So they gave me a deadline. I said, yep, I'll be there. In those days, I had to go home, resign from my job, settle all my things, and I'm just a young guy. I'm still living at home. I still live at home. So I don't know what to say, but you know what I mean? I was, thanks to my family and that. And the idea was to go back and play. So everything that evolved over those years always led down that same pathway. These things you've got to remember. You've got to find what you're passionate about. You've got to dedicate yourself to being the best you can be at it. Try to stay on that pathway. For everyone that knows me, and my wife is watching it today, Christine, she would know better than anyone that I'm like this. I'm just, yeah, and I'm still like that today. I was just focused. I can stay focused. But I'm supportive of people around me that allow me to do that. But yeah, but when you do that, Taylor, when you find that passion, when you really dedicate yourselves, Marco, and you just keep with that mindset, it's not actually that hard. When I say that, I shouldn't say that loud. It is hard, but it's the mind over matter. You know, you just got to just, no matter how hard it is, and we all go through hard times. You know, look at what we've done in the last 18 months. My hat's off to all you guys, all the students in today, just only doing online. It's just, yeah, the mind boggles. So that mindset sort of helps. I hope that answered your question, Taylor. I probably hammered on a little bit there, but
no, definitely answers it.
Ticking the boxes wasn't something that I was aiming to do. It's just as a consequence of all these actions and all the things that you do in life. When you look back and think about it, wow, okay, so you know, it happened, you did it. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah. That's the only thing I can say.
For sure. And I know you said a little bit ago, you said school wasn't for you, but why why are you so passionate about academia and your research that you did?
Right. I might have said that school wasn't me, but it didn't mean I was actually good at school. The problem for me wasn't actually the school part. The problem for me was going to school, right? So, yeah, I was actually really good at school. I didn't mind it. You know, I actually loved learning. And I had that really inquisitive, not the annoying why always, but, you know, I actually enjoyed school when I was there. The problem was actually going there. So you guys remember doing HSCs? You remember that?
Yeah.
So the equivalent in New Zealand is you do what's called the school seat. Back in my day, they call it NTA nowadays. So in my HSC year, I was actually absent from school 200 days. You go to school for 200 days in New Zealand, right? High school. Of those 200 days, I was absent for 83 days. So I get hauled into the deputy principal's office, a chap by the name of Jeff Burridge, with my mum. And they said to me, okay, Mr. Trevor Clark, they're not going to let you sit to see you, sit to see you. And I'm like, absent, you know, you haven't been attending school. What have you been doing? I've been surfing all that time. So yeah, it was just only through my mum. It's only because of my mum. A lot of these things happen because she is so staunch, man. She is so staunch. She's 83, by the way. I just went home recently for her 85th birthday. Hadn't seen her in 2 years, so yeah, it was just so good to see her just recently. And then they closed the bubble again, so I was very lucky. So my mum was so staunch, man. She wouldn't take no from her. So she was not moving until they said that yes, I could do my HSC. And luckily I did it, and luckily got there. So Taylor, I didn't like school. It was just I didn't mind it once I was at school. The problem with me was actually going. And that's probably not a good story to tell all these kids go to school, but of course, secondary school is a great time in life. Yeah, you know, you don't necessarily need an ATAR. You don't, honestly. And the things you learn at school, they might help you down the pathway. But when you get to higher education, as you guys are both here now, it's really the work you put in during this time is so important for your future academia. Yep, everything you've learned at school is what the school curriculum has taught you. When you come to higher education, the goalposts change. It's an adult world. You know, we don't make you do the work. You have to do the work yourself. You get heaps of support along the way, and the lecturers that we have, I mean, I'd like to think I was actually pretty good at teaching, and I love it, teaching is the great part. It's been one of the best things. So being able to teach and pass on that knowledge, it's got to spur that passion in you, desire in you to want to learn. You know, I know you two both. Taylor, you're in your first year, Mark, you're in a different year, and you've probably got a lot of experience now about what it's like to study at ICMS. But it's so, I can imagine it's so different for you than what it was in high school. Yeah. And I can start turning the table and asking you questions now. What is the difference? But and I'm sure you guys can explain it's a different, the goalposts change, yeah, when you come to higher education. It's now your responsibility to learn, not at school where it was yours, you know, you were made to learn. And sure, later years you have to do it. But it's just different environment. And you know what the best thing about? You're learning about sport. Wow. I'll say that last thing again because I've never actually had a real job since I started being involved in sport. I love sport. I love to teach sport. I love to coach. I love to train. You name it. Anything with sport. So I'm just fortunate enough to be in this environment. We're lucky to be here at ICMS. Sure, I'm a Kiwi here on my own, and I actually know the boss, the big boss, Daryl. So the idea is, you know, we do our absolute best to support you guys, and that's what we want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, yeah, as you said, it's really good to be able to know what you love in sport. As we're going to wrap up tonight's session with the final question. Tonight we have individuals all around the world that, whether it be future students, current students, parents of students, and the like, we're all here because we love sport, and we really appreciate what you brought tonight. Your aspect and perspective of your journey has been invaluable. And if we only could take one piece of information away from us, away from home to home, what would it be and why?
Nail it all down to one thing. I guess it's something that I've already said that I'll make it concrete. If you want to be successful, guess what? You have to do it. Yeah, you have to want to do it yourself. Yeah. As I said to you before, we will support you. We will do, when I say we, collectively we. And it's not just the teachers, not just your program managers. It could be the IT guy, Adam Fisher, it could be Ian Walsh, could be anyone here at ICMS. We're here to support you guys. But that piece of advice that I'll give you, Marco, is you've really got to want to do it yourself. Because when you get that, when you realise that and find out, man, it's like that. It just goes like that. And you've got to turn around and think to yourself, where did those years go? Because I spent uni in the UK. I was there for 6 years, and I've never remembered it. And did I do some hard work? Good. Was I late in assignments? Never. You know what I mean? You have to do it. It's just no ifs or buts or maybes because no one else is going to do it. It's down to you. So the more you dedicate yourself to your craft, and I know you mentioned a lot of things about sport. Sport is one small piece of your life, but it's there with you forever. Yeah, that passion that you have in sport is always going to be there. So just make sure that passion is something else as well. Yeah, be happy, enjoy it.
Absolutely, yeah. So, Dr. Clark, we really appreciate your time tonight. So, telling us about from you being a student to musician, and just playing in your local rugby club to then being a diehard surfer and just all the way going through to getting your academia and now your doctorate. It's really an inspirational story, and we really appreciate what you've said tonight. And I'm sure we definitely, a major thing is that we have to work for what we want to do. And as we all love sport, it's a small part of life. But as you've mentioned, there's so many more things to do with sport. And I think at ICMS as well, I think we're very fortunate, Taylor and I, to be able to delve into many different aspects and take that on with us post-uni. So, Dr. Clark, on behalf of all of us and at ICMS, we really appreciate your time tonight. And yeah, we really appreciate that.
Also, one last thing, Marco, before we close up tonight, I'd like to thank all my family in Whanau in New Zealand and whoever else is watching it. The one thing we have, but being Māori, we bring not just ourselves and our immediate whānau, we bring all of our whānau with us on every journey we go. That's who we represent. So it's like representing a whole nation of Māori, and I'm being Waikato Tonu. You know, they're all behind me as well, so all supporting me in my endeavours. So Ngāvi Nui Kia koutou, and thank you very much to both of you guys, Margaret and Taylor. You've done a fantastic job for your first time. So I look forward to seeing you guys starring again in the future sometime. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Dr. Clark. Appreciate it, everyone, and have a good night. Thank you.